Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Game 4 of 5 coming up here with Starladder Season 8, Day 27 Round Robin coverage. I am Zyori. Joining me once again is Hippie. And now we've got Alliance versus SSD. Again, to reiterate, this is the SSD made up of 3 members of Speed Gaming. So it's a bit of a misnomer. It's really Speed Gaming with a soupçon of SSD. But maybe we're just quarreling over semantics. Hippie, my friend, how you feeling coming into this biggin here?
Feeling good, man. I mean, last one started to drag towards the end, but the start was pretty action-packed, so I'm looking forward to maybe the same level of action coming out from the super speedy dinosaurs down there. Maybe Alliance just wants to play it safe. Maybe they don't want to respond the same way Relax did. Because Relax was all in, man. They were all over the aggression.
Yeah, and again, we'll reiterate here because this is how rumors get started. Speed Gaming just standing in for fun. It is weird within the rules here in terms of real team members on another team, and that doesn't sound okay, and it's not okay. Starladder did not want this to happen, and they're sort of the loophole is the opposition has to agree. Alliance could have said, no, we don't want to do that. And they would have had to find other stand-ins. That's sort of what Alliance said, and that's why we were delayed. But then after some back and forth, some very mature conversation, we came to the conclusion that, you know what, let's just play it. We're okay. So Alliance did agree, but it took a little bit of convincing.
Some cajoling, perhaps.
Yes, it took a little bit of bribery, but it should be an interesting game. Of course, I almost called them Speed. SSD, hot off their victory from the last match where they did take out the mighty Poseidon. An intense back-and-forth game, but action-packed nonetheless. We'll see Alliance make another showing here. I said Alliance. I meant to say Alchemist. We will see Alliance for the second time today, but Alchemist going to make the showing here. Another first pick. And Chen Bristleback by Alliance. Very Alliance-like picks to get things started.
Yeah, and I'm okay with a Bristleback in the first set of picks. Bristle God, Bristle Beast, whatever you want to call him. He's pretty damn strong right now. And, of course, the Ake-Chen. How can you not love the Ake-Chen? He is a master. I still can't decide who I actually think is better, Ake or Puppy. I know I'll give Puppy the Enchantress. I'm not sure about the Chen.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited to see some Chen. Chen is a hero that we actually haven't been seeing nearly as much recently. Some teams still run him here and there, but he's really fallen off as that scary, like, first ban, first pick kind of a hero that he once was. So I'm never really going to complain about too much Chen action. Always fun to see. There's Timbersaw snagged by SSD. They ran Timbersaw in the last game. That was a Bone 7 Timbersaw we see got a little out of control in the last match. And as always, a great pick against the Bristleback.
Yeah, that the stat reduction, I think is what you're referring to, yeah?
Because the fact whirling that, yes, the stat reduction. And it does a little bit of pure damage, so that does help cut through the armor of Bristleback. Not that he's super armor filled, but it can help a little bit. But yeah, it's mostly that 15% stat loss from Whirling Death. That just cuts through that HP pool of Bristleback pretty nicely.
Much more effectively than your average damage does, since it's not reduced by anything, because it's not damage, it is setting your HP.
Yes, exactly right. So, and the nice thing about that is kind of a quote-unquote counter pick is you're not really giving up much. A lot of teams will be like, you know what, we kind of wanted to pick Timbersaw anyway. He's pretty damn good in the off lane, so if you have a Bristleback and he's good against Bristleback, we'll go ahead and pick him. So I sort of say counter loosely, but a hero that has an additional incentive against Bristleback, and one that obviously SSD have no complaints about running themselves.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah. The band's coming out, so Alliance not wanting to deal with the OD, so maybe they want to pick something that's going to be particularly strong as that, and SSD not wanting to deal with that Puck this game.
Yeah.
Want to watch out for that aggression coming out. And Puck on top of Bristleback can be pretty irritating. SSD not wanting to risk that Invoker again. They saw how he almost turned around that last game against Relax.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, a lot of mid-heroes getting banned out, actually. The Invoker going to be taken out as well, so going to be a slightly different game than we saw last time. And I wonder, could this not be a support Alchemist? That was a weird way to phrase that, but will it be Alchemist mid or perhaps in a 1 position? I kind of hope so. Are we on the same page with Alchemist? Because I always feel a little bit like, oh, wasted potential when I see Alchemist in the support role. He's a fine support, but I really like him in that mid position. I think he really thrives as a driver, more so than a passenger.
I think it's I think it's different potential. I don't think it's necessarily wasted. As we saw in the last game, Dread, in the kind of later portions of the game, even though he started support, Alchemist, because he just accrues more gold than everybody else, naturally, he can transition a lot faster, and a lot of the items he gets in a support role are items he would be getting in a carry role anyway, just a little bit slower. So the fact that you can have him rotating with the unstable concoction instead of sitting and farming a lane is a big boost. But at the same time, yes, there is some level of, oh man, he could really be tearing people apart if we gave him that one position farm.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't mean to imply that he's a bad support by any means. I just, I don't know. I like seeing him get farmed, and you see that level 11 chemical range. He's working on an AC level, as in level 2. He hits like double digits, and he's just, he's destroying people. I like seeing Alchemist chop that wood when he's hitting real fast.
10 seconds remaining.
I like the hero.
Say you own a slap chop. Last time I made the slap chop reference.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
God.
bought a slap chop at one point in my life. I don't know. Saying I own it now is maybe a bit of a misnomer because I don't know where it is, and it's probably been thrown away. The only time I did use it, when I got my wisdom teeth taken out, I slap chopped a couple of Big Macs, and that actually helped a bit.
Oh my God. I'm not sure we can
Big
be
Mac.
friends anymore. You ate slap chopped Big Macs?
Hey man, my wisdom teeth were gone, and I was at the point where I was just like, I'm hungry. What's the fattiest thing I can eat that'll fill me up? I know, a Big Mac. I'll go to McDonald's and get a #1. Supersize
Oh my
it.
God. When I had my wisdom teeth out, I ate pudding and hot dogs, man. I didn't go get
Hot dogs.
freaking.
Oh, that's such
Yeah.
a good idea. I should have gotten hot dogs. I don't know.
I
French
can't
fries were pretty
believe-
good
I
though.
can't believe you thought to yourself, man, I better go get a Big Mac and slap chop it right now. I cannot believe that thought ever passed through your head.
It was a strange time in my life. What can I say? I was excited about the potential that the slap chop brought to the table. It was one of the knockoff slap chops, though. It was one of the crappy ones, and the stuff kind of just got stuck in the blades. It made it easier, but I would give a solid 2 out of 10. Would not recommend. Do not buy a slap chop if you can avoid it. Unless you're rich, then by all means. By all means, but I find the knife still a very effective way to chop up my vegetables. Oh boy. So SSD with an interesting pick here, though. They are going to grab the Shadow Demon. Woo.
It's kind of an older combo that doesn't get run as much anymore, but it was pretty effective in aggressive tri-lane back in 7.8, and I think 7.7. I think we got some of it in 7.7.
Yeah.
Just, the disruption gives you a free 2.5 seconds from level 1 to charge up that concoction, and that's a huge amount just from level 1. And the damage on the concoction is very, very high. Once it's been charged for that long, you can get a couple of extra seconds because you're chasing someone down, especially if there's no defensive stuns available in the lane you're going up against. So it's pretty much a guaranteed maybe 4 seconds worth of charge on your concoction, which is solid damage, solid stun. Get one more hero in there, and it's just free kills.
Yeah, it's true. You're right. See a lot of synergy between that duo. The Shadow Demon Lesh is always what comes to mind for me, but Alchemist certainly plays a very similar role, and almost even easier than the Lesh because you do more damage, and you don't have that same trade-off of, hey, Lesh kind of falls off at some point, and Alchemist, well, he just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Alliance going to grab themselves a Storm Spirit here, though, with their 4th pick. Wonder what SSD want to pick up for themselves. We were talking about TA earlier, and I wonder if this is a match where SSD may consider a TA pick. She does fare pretty well against the Storm Spirit. Not one of those classic counters that usually comes up, but is possible. It could be something that they want to consider.
10 seconds remaining.
I think she does okay. I don't think she's someone I would particularly go for against the Storm, but if you really, for some reason, want to run a TA because you have a TA player, sure. I think what they would really want is the OD, but he's been banned out. You can do a puck against a Storm. He does just fine. Oh, they banned out the puck themselves. Derp.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Queen of Pain can work. She does pretty well. The Storm doesn't really have a lot of options till he hits 6 and has the zip. And even then, he's probably been pressured reasonably enough thanks to the Shadow Strike and Quap's just good auto attack damage and greater range to the point where Quap is a little bit ahead. But neither of them will really win the lane unless someone makes a big mistake, I feel like. So I don't know. I don't know what they want to go for. They're going to get the Disruptor again. They like that.
Interesting. So that means this will be some sort of a farming Alchemist here, whether it's going to be mid or in a 1 position. They've got their support secured, so that is fascinating. And they did well with the Disruptor last game. I'm certainly not going to complain at all, and I particularly like the Disruptor pick against the mobile Storm Spirit. I think kind of an obvious sort of counter there to try and deal with zipping around.
It can be really, really useful, especially if you catch a glimpse on him and he doesn't manage to be zipping during it. Then if you can get the lightning on top of him, the lightning storm, the static storm, on his way back, or just catch him with that in general because it forms instantly and you get the instant silence off of it. I mean, Disruptor is, I believe, the fastest casting silence in the game that's not an Orchid. So it can be very... Ooh!
Wow.
I like it.
Did not...
It's going to be support, so it's going to be an EGM silencer, but I still like it anyway.
Did not see that one coming. An interesting choice. We've seen Silencer mixed in a little bit. He's been sprinkled into this round robin of Starladder Season 8. And I'm trying to remember back. I don't think I've seen a Silencer really be super successful. Kind of curious how this is going to work out here.
Okay, when I say I like it, what I don't mean is that I think this is really good in this particular lineup. What I mean is I really want to see Silencer, because I think he's a fun hero. I have a blast playing him, and the purple redesign I actually really like. Looks like we are not going to have a... So it is going to be Carry Alchemist, but it looks like... Well, Sing Sing was playing Carry last time.
Arise does? This is, going to be weird. I think it'll probably be mid-Alchemist, but we'll see how they want to do. They may swamp it, but I like the Gyrocopter pick here as well. We talked about Gyrocopter earlier today. We saw how much damage he can do at the early levels, but Rocket Barrage, one of few abilities that can just straight shut down the Bristleback, especially in the early stage. At level 1, if it's a long lane Gyrocopter versus a safe lane Bristle or something like that, Bristle has to be so careful. If there aren't creeps around, that's from full to 0 in just a matter of seconds. I really like the choice here to try and deal with that Bristleback. And they've got plenty of carry power, too. I like the idea of grabbing another carry hero to give them kind of a late-game edge against this Life Stealer.
Well, and not just that, but he's another hero that synergizes very well with the Shadow Demon, because you have such a long disruption to let you get on top of people with the Rocket Barrage to let you position very, very easily. So he's another hero who you often saw when Shadow Demon was popular as a support. You'd get him along with a Gyrocopter. You know, you disrupt, you move up with Rocket Barrage. No one would want to go in because nobody wants to eat Rocket Barrage, and if someone was caught out of position with a Disrupt, they'd just be dead. So even if the Gyro and the Alk are hanging out in different lanes, the Shadow Demon can be very, very effective with either one of them. Meaning he's not just consigned to, oh, I'm with this hero all the time. It's, oh, I'm hanging out with any hero and we're very effective.
Right. So still curious how these lanes are going to settle down for SSD. I imagine Sing Sing is going to be going to want to be mid here on that Alchemist. But we'll see. All right, now all 4 of them headed in the mid lane, and we'll see how this fares. Now remember, guys, this is technically SSD, and if we refresh the brackets here, SSD still in a good spot. They are currently 10-4 against Alliance's 12-3. Still a chance for them to make it into the top 4, and I actually haven't gotten confirmation on what happens if they make it into the top 4. I think something will implode somewhere, but I honestly don't know. So this could be interesting. If they take this game off of Alliance, things could get weird very fast.
I think what happens is if they make top 4, even if nothing implodes, the teams that are scheduled to play against them say, no, you cannot use your 3 stand-ins from Speed Gaming.
Right.
And they immediately get walkover wins.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Someone asked in the Skype group, and we didn't get a definitive answer, so maybe they're just fingers crossed it'll all work out on its own and SSD won't make it into the top 4. Sometimes that's not a bad strategy. That's how we got through MLG Columbus, and lo and behold, it actually worked for us. So, we'll see. But going to be an interesting match at present. I don't know, Hippie. Looking at these rosters, I kind of like the SSD draft a little bit more. I think this Silencer last pick is a little bit of a gamble. It could work out well for Alliance, but I don't know, makes me a little bit nervous. I have not seen a lot of crisp Silencer execution. Hopefully Alliance will be the first to demonstrate it for us here.
Yeah, I think the only hero that's really relying on chain spells over on SSD is going to be that Timbersaw. But again, Silencer doesn't really stop chain spells quite as much as he used to. The old Last Word, man, I'm still sad that aura isn't there anymore. I miss that aura.
Yeah,
I like the power the new active gives him, but boy, did I like having this guy against people like Zeus and Puck who are trying to cast a bunch of spells in succession.
Tiny, yeah. I absolutely agree with you. I couldn't have said it better myself. This gives him a little bit more power and I think more utility, but the old one gave you very specific counters to certain heroes that is just a mechanic that doesn't exist anymore, that silence after casting in that same way as an aura. So, with that, let's go ahead and introduce our rosters here, see where everyone's landing. On our Radiant side, we do have Team Super Strong Dinosaurs with 3 stand-ins, all of which are from Speed Gaming. Arise going to be down bottom on the Gyrocopter. Pili Die going to be on the Disruptor down here in the bottom lane. Come with me. Going to be on the Shadow Demon, headed down to that bottom lane. In the mid, Beaver Knight, a.k.a. Sing Sing, going to be on the Alchemist. And up top, that does leave Bone 7 playing on the long lane Timbersaw once again. Exactly what we saw in the last game. Now on the side of Alliance, we've got Loda playing on the Lifestealer up top. He'll be supported by EGM on that Silencer. Ake going to be in the jungle on that Chen. S4 going to be solo mid on the Storm Spirit. And of course, Admiral Bulldog going to be in the long lane on the Bristleback. He's going to start stacking up these Ancients. Already has a nice 2 stack. Going to make it 3 here in just a moment. So already planning for the future. Smart investments. I like it. And that's about it. 2 minutes in. No kills on the field quite yet. How is this Alchemist faring? That is my question. 8-3 against the 7-4 Storm. So pretty comparable. Even mid lane. And I'm happy. I like seeing this Alch in more of a driving role, as I mentioned in the draft.
Yeah, he can definitely be very, very powerful. The stun, of course, as we've mentioned several times, a pretty ridiculous ability. He has chosen to level the acid spray over the stun for now, I guess for the extra pressure in mid lane. And, ooh, Bristleback.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. Did you catch that?
No, we both failed hard. I, again, was sipping my water
okay.
and admiring Bone 7 up top and how he got 2 points in Timber Chain. No whirling death. I love it. That's what most Timbersaws should do in this scenario, and we see far too often Timber Chain not getting leveled early. So I was having a mental field day with that one. But, yeah, that was just Bristleback in an odd position there. That was some bad tunnel vision. All right, I got to shake it off. Hate it when I miss First Blood. I feel like it ruins my rhythm for the rest of the game.
Every time I hear
rezone.
a caster mentioning that they missed First Blood or something, I just get so happy that I don't have to control the camera. Camera control is hard, man.
I don't like it.
Oh,
I don't like the pressure.
No, it's awful.
Yeah.
But
So,
I was... Oh, there's something I wanted to
Saying
say.
something.
It's interesting how we have a very different response from Alliance to their jungle being warded, because you could see the exact same wards were dropped by SSD that were actually dropped in the previous game against Relax, and Alliance, instead of taking the risk and trying to rotate, people through the jungle, and of course this is partially because they have a different lineup of heroes, the Chen, maybe not as apt in an enemy jungle, also the Silencer not really particularly useful in guarding him, unlike the support Alchemist that Relax had present, but they just, as soon... Before the creeps even began to spawn, Ake had already picked up some sentries. He knew that the reason that SSD wanted to get into that jungle as 5 so early was because they wanted to ward up his camps and slow him down. So he removed the important one that was blocking his hard camp. And now, look, they're having a very, very effective Chen. He's getting some pushing done. And already, SSD having to commit a second hero up here.
Yep, Timber Chain gonna get caught in that ensnare. He will get open wounded. Gonna Timber Chain back. We'll be able to survive for now. Come with me. Will port in. Needs to be a little careful here, though. Disruption comes out onto the Chen. There is support inbound. They will at least keep this tower pretty safe. There's the glimpse onto Loda. I don't think they're going to have the follow-up damage to finish him off, though. That is one of the problems with the Disruptor Shadow Demon set of duo supports. Is, yeah, they have a lot of utility, but they don't really do a lot of damage. You need somebody to follow up with those huge hits. And unfortunately, in that situation, Bone 7 not in a position to do so. So they will keep the tower safe, though. They will thwart that first push, which is a nice change of pace from the last game, where we saw Alliance just take down that Tier 1 tower at like the 2-minute, 30-second mark, something like that.
It was like 2:15, 2:20, yeah.
Something insane. So a nice change of pace.
Bulldog getting dove.
Uh-oh. Does he have the cooldown? I'm surprised Arise did not burn that rocket barrage. I think there was potential for a kill right there. I think
it's a dangerous proposition because Bulldog has the 1 level in Bristleback. He might end up throwing out a couple more quills than you can actually handle. It depends on how far you have to chase him. He might have been okay, but I get kind of why he didn't want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do see what you're saying. He was in pretty deep. Somebody could have ported and turned it around, but I don't know. I mean, if Bristol was at full health for sure, half health, I probably would have gone for it. But to each his own, going to play it safe. Can't complain about that. Gyrocopter is getting great farm down here against Bristle. 26-16 against the 8-0 Bristleback. So I can see why Arise would be a little more motivated to play it safe, not throw away that early farm he's picked up. And can't complain about that. Loda doing very well also. He is farming up a storm up here in the top lane. 32-10. He is the last hit leader here. And still a pretty even spread in the mid lane. Storm Spirit 27-10 versus the 24-7 Alchemist. We glance at the graph. Maybe we can get some insight into how things are faring. And still pretty even. Alliance with a small gold lead, but really nothing too crazy. A very quiet game. Only 1 kill in 6 minutes. Both teams focusing hard, not overcommitting. But as I say that, Timbersaw, he's just going to port back to safety. No interrupt on that silencer, so he will make it out safe and sound.
One thing we didn't really mention is the extra pure damage from the silencer is going to be really, really helpful in harassing that Timbersaw out of lane a lot more. Because he took the early points in Glaives of Wisdom, so you can get that little bit. And it's not a huge amount, but getting that little bit of extra unreduced damage, you can see immediately you usually have a Timbersaw be a lot more stable in lane, a lot more difficult to harass out, but very, very quickly, EGM is able to push him out of lane. Just by the 6-minute mark, he's already had to port back, and he has no boots, just his bottle. Not really the greatest lane here for Bone 7.
Oh, come with me. Almost getting caught. S4 not going to overcommit into the high ground there. Bulldog needs to be a little bit careful as he takes out these Ancients, but this is where the big disparity is going to come. We see a ward coming down to block this Ancients from getting stacked. Smart play here from SSD, but that's where we're going to see the big difference. Now Bristleback is starting to pick up farm, and as you were talking about with that Timbersaw, he's really getting zoned out here. Now he's going to be in some trouble. Actually going to get silenced. We'll take a fair bit of damage here, and they might be able to secure a kill onto Bone 7. A few more auto attacks ought to do it. There will be a convergence from the Chen. Bottle going to get sipped. He is going to move to the high ground here, looking for a port. Well played by Bone 7. And he is going to make it out, even though that was a pretty close call.
Ancients stolen by SSD. They took out the rest of Bulldog's Ancients. Now, of course, they're not going to respawn, meaning that this poor Bristleback is going to be stuck with nothing at all to farm. He has managed to hit level 6, though, which is, quite frankly, better than I expected him to do against this lane. I expected him to get pushed out much, much harder.
Yeah.
But there have been a lot of forced rotations to the top lane, which have given him a little bit of space.
That's very true. That is very true indeed. Actually, Arise getting close to knocking down this tier 1 tower. And here we go. Now Bulldog taking a little bit of damage. There's the Rocket Barrage. Homing Missile going to come out. Now Arise going to have to about face. And this is probably what he was worried about. Loda going to make his way in. He's at least going to stand his ground and finish off the Bulldog. He got what he came for, though it is going to cost him his life as Storm Spirit as well as Lifestealer rotate their way over. And it looks like we may have a pause here as Disruptor has disconnected. But, yeah, I guess that's basically point in case what you were talking about before, why he didn't dive it last time and try and finish off the Bristleback, because that's exactly what's going to happen. Ports will come in, he'll be committed too deep, he'll get some of that sticky goo on him, and, well, nowhere for a Gyrocopter to run. But this time he does man up, he goes for it, and at least makes it a 1-for-1. Grabs himself a kill.
Yeah, you get the 1-for-1. You force 2 TPs, so at least you're making them spend basically the amount they got from that. So that's 270 gold spent, 270 gold gained by S4. But the extra experience that he's getting, you're also picking off the carry, probably makes that slightly better for Alliance than it is for SSD.
Yep, I would agree. But still nothing too crazy. Lancing at the graph here. Actually, Alliance starting to pull ahead now, and a lot of that is because their jungle is now de-warded. And Ake finally going to have some jungling room. So, as always, when you have a dedicated jungler, that opens up a little bit more efficiency in your lanes. So, Alliance will find some positives there. And also the Ancient stacks. They did clear out a good part of that Ancient stack. The latter portion of it was stolen, but they got the bulk of it at least. So, they do have a small gold edge here. Experience lead, actually upwards of about 2,000. There's the reconnect from Pylai die, and I think we should resume pretty quickly here. Yep, Sing Sing going for an early medallion on that Alchemist.
Not particularly unusual, I think. I mean, it's something that you see a little more on support, but it gives them the, you know, just the extra minus armor to go with the Gyrocopter, to go with your Alchemist. Obviously, you already have the Acid Spray. He's not going for Grievous Greed, so he's not going for hard farming. And so it gives him a little bit of tankiness, and that mana regen can be pretty big too, with how much he's spamming the Acid Spray.
Yeah,
just having that extra bit from the Sage's Mask is significant.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. So he's going to have that early medallion. It looks like S4 is just going to go for early phase boots. Nothing too exciting happening in item choices there on that front. And, yeah, pretty standard progression. Looks like Gyrocopter not going to go for an early Midas or anything like that. Did grab himself phase boots to start things off. Loda doing the exact same thing. They actually have the exact same build going on here. Well, not exact same, but same cores at least. Phase boots into Bracer, into Magic Wand. Here we're going to see Pylai die, make a little bit of a misplay perhaps. He's going to be forced to port back. He glimpsed back Loda, and then Loda just turned on him. And, well, nothing to do besides port out. But, yeah, the only difference between these two farms is, of course, I missed these kills as I'm looking at Loda, is that Basilius versus the Orb of Venom. Now up top, looks like we are going to see Bone 7 overcommit. They did already lose their Shadow Demon. Down he goes as support comes their way. And now Alliance going to pick up even more momentum. Going to be 3-2 here as they pick up 2 kills in the top lane on Timber and Shadow Demon.
Yeah, and that Timber just so underfarmed. Still only level 5. He's got boots in a bottle. Even Bulldog doing, significantly better right here. He has boots of speed, he has ring of health, he has his magic stick. And again, there's been so many rotations away from that bottom lane for SSD that have freed up Bulldog with a lot of space. But it's not like it's slowed down Loda at all. As you mentioned, his farm is doing very, very well. He's at the top of the net worth chart. He's actually just above S4. So for all of this rotation, the Timbersaw is not doing any better. The Gyro is doing worse. The Bristleback's doing better, and Loda is not impacted at all. So what if these rotations actually done, except maybe occasionally give up a Shadow Demon kill?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Oh no, it's an illusion. Oh, they thought it was the real Storm Spirit. How unfortunate.
Sometimes just got to take the gamble. Oh, Loda, are you crazy?
Loda's gonna man up right here. He's feeling crazy, but there's the global silence. They'll get a kill. Sometimes a little bit of craziness is what you need. Beaver Knight gonna charge up the stun, looking for a target. He's gonna get disabled. This could be bad. He is gonna get stunned. S4 gonna take a good bit of damage as the cooldowns come out. Will mitigate some of it with that ball lightning. Still no more kills coming up after that initial death. On the Disruptor, again, Sing Sing gonna charge up a stun. Now they want to try and finish off the Bulldog. He's got his back turned, but it doesn't matter. They're gonna make it a 1-for-1 here as the rotations come in. And a kinetic field, a glimpse onto Loda. Nowhere for him to go, but they're not gonna have the damage. It doesn't look like. Oh man, one more auto attack would have done it. Another concoction gonna come, this time gonna connect with S4. Again, I don't think the follow-up damage is gonna be here. S4 maybe poking a little bit too far forward. A lot of close calls here. But that is where it's going to settle down. It seemed SSD kind of in a state of disarray there. They had the skills to pay the bills, but they didn't coordinate it well enough to secure a kill, and Alliance will walk away with 3 very low health heroes.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure it was a lack of coordination. It was just a lack of ability to tear through a little bit of a wall of hit points on Loda's part. They got the Bristleback, which was solid. They got the glimpse on Loda, but they had already burned a lot of cooldowns to take out the Bristleback. So they weren't able to do the same thing to Loda. They were just trying to do it with auto attacks. And then, of course, without some really good, reliable stuns to follow up on S4, of course, they got the initial Alchemist stun. He failed to dodge with his ball lightning. But at the same time, unless you have a lot of follow-up, it's still hard to bring down that storm. The stun wasn't long enough to prevent him from just zipping away.
Yeah. And that was the problem. Alliance did such a good job initiating and then re-initiating in that. Every time someone got low, they would hop forward and allow the low health person to get into a better position, and they just kept doing that back and forth until, well, the fight dissipated. And really well done by Alliance right there. Unfortunate SSD couldn't secure a few more kills. Looks like we could see some action heating up in the top lane as Alliance are making a rotation. They've got 4 members headed up here. The only one not with them is the Bulldog as he continues to farm down to the bottom. Also, Storm Spirit is 3-0-0 here, so S4 having a pretty good game to get things started. Looks like he is going to go for a pretty early Orchid, has that first Robe of the Magi, so a great opener for him. He's picked up 3 of the 4 kills his team has been able to snag. So that is great news. Looks like they do want to start pushing, though. Use that Shen. He's got 2 Hellbear Smashers and a Dark Troll Summoner right now. That should be more than enough to knock down this top tier 1 tower. Though with that said, SSD are looking like they do want to make a defense. If Alliance can stall them here, they may open up enough time for Bristleback to pressure that tier 1 down in the bottom lane. Though, maybe not. Bulldog looks like he's pretty comfortable just static farming right in front of his tower. So we'll see how this goes. 5-man rotation from Speed. Maybe an overreaction. I called him Speed. It's SSD.
Yeah, super speedy dinosaurs.
Super speedy dinosaurs, exactly.
Speedy strong dinosaurs. Works in a million different directions.
Oh, the level of acronyms. I thought this team really had a lot of promise to get sponsored by a solid-state drive company, but I guess the branding just wasn't there. I really thought that that's like something cool that they could do.
That would have been pretty great, but the team would have had to stick around for that. It is unfortunate. I really did think the team had some promise as a team.
Yeah, once they grabbed Misery and Pycat, my flashes went on just like, oh no, this could be a really scary team. And they won like 3 games together and then just said, nah, this isn't fun. See you later. But we'll hold that thought as, initiation, Arise. He's going to get baited by the Hellbear Smashers here. Defensive Disruption going to come in. He'll get a call down off. There's some silence action. Arise in big trouble, as is Bone 7. They're both going to fall simultaneously here. Alliance looking like they could take this fight, but it is going to cost them their Storm Spirit. Not over quite yet. Bulldog now going to make his way up there. That's the end of the Shadow Demon. Pylai die 1 hit, and that'll be the end of him. It's going to be a 1-for-4 exchange. Poor positioning from SSD. It all started with that gyrocopter. It seemed he really wanted those Hellbear Smashers, didn't have enough damage to finish him off, and that was the catalyst for a poor team fight for SSD. Anytime you have to start off your fight with a defensive disruption on your carry, that's usually a sign that you're not starting it off right.
Yeah, and it was incredibly fortunate that the gyro was not caught by the global silence when it went off because of the fact that he was disrupted, because otherwise they wouldn't have gotten a single return kill. They wouldn't have gotten the call down off. But it just ended very, very poorly. I think you're completely right. He just got greedy.
Yeah.
He can't afford to get that greedy without some kind of without first of all knowing if the enemy is close enough to kind of just murder you like that, and without some form of get out of jail free card like a BKB, which he is nowhere near completing really.
Yeah. So what's interesting here, though, is that of the 4 kills that SSD have picked up, 3 of them have been on the bristleback. In the mid, oh, Sin gonna stun himself, I think. Yeah, oh, poor guy. But interestingly enough, they have a lot of heroes that have yet to concede a death. Both the Chen as well as the Life Stealer are 0-0 with just assists on the board, and also the Silencer 2-0-4. So they still have 3 heroes that have yet to concede a death, and that is where things are starting to get just a little bit scary on this graph. We see about a 3.2k gold lead for Alliance, something like that. Somewhere about a 6,000-7,000 experience lead. So they are starting to get a little bit out of control. SSD still have a lot of carry power. We talked about that carry edge that they'll have if this game allows. But Lotus Farm is pretty impressive here. Does have Phase Boot, Storm of Endurance to start things off, and another 1.5k in the bank. Just going to start chipping away at Timbersaw. Bone 7 going to use the Timber Chain in kind of an odd manner, maybe trying to bait a little bit as his teammates make their way up here. But again, you've got this Disruptor as well as Shadow Demon. I don't think they have enough damage to set up a kill on Loda. And, yep, that'll be the end of it. Just going to walk away.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, decidedly a lack of early game damage output from the supports. But with the Timbersaw, if you land a good Soul Catcher on Loda, Loda getting a little bit greedy, going back to farm some Ancients, but I think he should be okay. He has his Rage available to prevent any glimpsing.
Yep.
But, I mean, you have to remember that the Soul Catcher, he hasn't actually put a lot of points into it. He's gone mostly into the Shadow Poison for his own personal damage. But when he gets some Soul Catcher levels and gets it on someone, along with the Timbersaw, along with the Alchemist, the burst damage they can put out, along with the Gyrocopter, that's some pretty massive potential. We are going to see a Roshan kill, though, coming in very, very early from Alliance. And that stacking goo, man, the stacking goo along with the Chen creeps to tank up, very, very easy.
Makes it super easy, and I always love the choice to have a Wild Wing Ripper mixed in when you're trying to do Roche. That armor aura actually does help quite a bit. That toughness bonus 3 aura for everybody in the pit, and as you mentioned, that mixed with the viscous goo makes for easy Roshans. So Alliance going to further their lead here. Now 8-4 at the 17-minute mark, and they have taken out first Roche. Still, no towers have fallen in this game. Both teams still being pretty passive. Not that either side has a particularly potent pushing lineup. There's a Chen, but still, SSD have been pretty adamant about defending his pushes. While we're in this pause, we can look at some items here. Alchemist looking like he's going to get the good old-fashioned SNY to start things off. He's got a Sange in the inventory. Gyrocopter with an Ogre Club, no doubt working towards a BKB. Storm Spirit working towards that Orchid, does have the first Oblivion Staff, and did grab the Aegis. And Ake has picked himself up a mech, so that does give a nice team fight edge to Alliance, mech versus no mech. And of course, the Bulldog has picked up his Vanguard. So I think Alliance are starting to assemble those core items they need for a solid bit of mid-game aggression. And I think that'll start to come out here in the next few minutes.
I think so as well. Loda's about 700 away from an armlet, if that's what he's going for, which would not surprise me in the least. Although he could be going for an early AC, but I doubt it. You wouldn't expect him to be grabbing that without any sort of other damage item, unless they really, really wanted to push, like, really hard.
Really, like almost 3
really,
reallys. I mean, at this point,
I'll give it 3 reallys, man. I'll give it 3 reallys.
Oh, poor Arise. Hopefully he can reconnect here.
One would hope. There he is. All right, we got our
Gyrocopter made it
back.
back. Happy about that. And there's the go. Alliance ready to make it rain.
Alliance is always ready, man.
They really are. They have a busy schedule. I feel for the Alliance guys. They just hop back and forth from tournament to tournament. Every time I see them in a lobby, they're just like, hey, what? Yeah, go. Go. No, just go. We're ready. Yeah, go. Like, that's for good reason, man. They are busy beavers.
Dire's top tower.
Come with me up top. Just going to pour it out. Going to make the right call, but down bottom. Oh, no. Arise. He's in big trouble. He's all alone. Nowhere for him to go, and he is going to get caught with his pants around his ankles. Look at this ward here from Alliance, right smack dab in the middle of this Radiant jungle. And that is going to give him the valuable intel they need to get aggressive. They will take out this bottom tier 1 tower, no doubt.
Is under attack.
And just continue their streak of dominance. I think this gold lead only going to start to grow. SSD need to make something happen. And it's going to be rough for these team fights coming up here. There we go, down in the bottom. Bulldog going to get initiated on. Sing Sing going to start it off with a concoction. Support coming inbound. It looks like Alliance just going to sacrifice Bulldog. Poor guy. EGM going to be in trouble as well. A nice glimpse into kinetic field. There's the Chakram to follow up, and the concoction going to finish him off. Down he goes. They deny the tier 1 tower in the bottom lane. And now Ake in a bit of trouble as well. He's going to get blocked in by some creeps here. And I think he is certainly going to fall. Concoction coming up. Sing Sing going to charge it. Nowhere for the Chen to run. Down he goes. So what a hold. I was just going to say, SSD need to make something happen, and boy, did they do just that. A 3-for-0 in the bottom, and the tower deny. Very well done.
Under attack.
Yeah. Precisely what you said is exactly what they needed. They get themselves a good defense. They get some kills. I'm curious as to why Alliance thought it was a good idea to stay in there. I mean, they killed the gyrocopter, but they didn't really kill enough to know that there was not enough support for them down there. They didn't kill anyone truly hugely significant. Sure, you don't have to deal with the call down, but you still have to deal with all the disruptor control. You still have to deal with the Timbersaw damage. You still have to deal with the Alchemist stun. And there was only really 2 heroes there. Ake wasn't in a great position to help. EGM, of course, I believe it already burned the Global Silence, or maybe I'm misremembering, because it's off cooldown now. I believe it was on cooldown when that fight was happening.
Yes, I think that makes
Because
sense.
otherwise he probably would have used it. And Bulldog, of course, he's tanky, but he's not that tanky. You can't just assume he's not going to die when he gets gone on by 3 people. Just a little overconfident from Alliance. Cost him quite a lot.
Yeah, it really did. And now if we glance at this graph, things trending the way of SSD, at least just a little bit here. Now I want to make comment, because I did see someone in chat say, "It's going to be a halberd, you idiot." And actually, that guy was right. He did get a halberd. So I'm not an idiot, but he did get a halberd, which is an interesting choice. I don't know that I would have thought that halberd first would be the choice for Sing Sing in a match like this. I mean, it is great against the Lifestealer, don't get me wrong. I guess it's not bad for some damage output, but an interesting choice nonetheless. Pylai die. Yeah, you're going to be in big trouble, buddy. Down he goes. And, Bone 7. He's in a little bit of trouble as well. I love when the silence comes out, all the sounds die. That's a really nice touch.
Oh, yeah.
It's really
a holdover
cute.
from Dota 1. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a little bit jarring at first, but then once you realize what it is, you're like, oh, I get it. It's like that song, that classic song where the guy put the timer on the piano and just sat there in silence. So revolutionary. Sorry, that was too far. But, yeah. Any thoughts about this halberd first? I'm very curious.
It may be more for the Bristleback than the Lifestealer. I mean, obviously you want to deal with the Lifestealer, but if he has the Rage available, it's safer to try and nerf some of the Bristleback's damage by taking out his auto attacks. Because remember, he swings really, really hard with those Warpath stacks on.
That's true. That's fair enough.
Yeah, and he can't just rage it off like the Lifestealer can. He's not likely to be going for a BKB anytime soon. It looks like he might be wanting to go for a Force Staff with a Ring of Regen. I don't know. He just bought something.
Oh, Pylai die, my friend. You're going to be in some trouble. The kinetic field comes out. That will separate Loda a little bit, but won't be enough. Now, yeah, the Beaver Knight going to be in some trouble. They will be able to turn it around onto EGM. Ake will burn the ultimate. And the disruption might be enough to actually turn this around. The support's going to be there. Loda going to about face, and he's just going to sacrifice the Ake. At least they minimize their losses. It's only the 2 supports, but they only kill a support in exchange for it. Again, Alliance looking like they had a good setup, and then the support from SSD was there, and they do turn it around for a favorable exchange.
Yeah, Bulldog was busy finishing up his hood in the bottom lane, so he wasn't available for that fight. And just, you know, a 5v4 when you don't have one of your cores like that, and a core who's been doing reasonably decently. I mean, considering he did not have the greatest lane start, he's managed to find himself a lot of space. You had to know that was coming when you walked into 5 people without Bulldog, you know?
Yeah. And especially with that tier 2 tower up right there, that was an odd place for kind of a commitment like that. But the disruption multiple times has bought them valuable time that they need here. S4, again, just going to get overzealous onto a Rise. He has the Aegis, so I guess it's warranted here. Kind of. I mean, that's a situation where I can at least see, all right, the risk is worth the return there. I burned the Aegis, and in exchange, I might be able to get a kill. That one I can see, but another example of Alliance just making a misstep of being hyper-aggressive.
And as for doing a little bit of an overzip right there, that was so unfortunate that he missed everyone. He had people rotating up to help him out if he could just get the stun, but I think he figured they were running to buy TPs, didn't remember that they actually had them, maybe didn't see their inventory during that very quick exchange. Can't be blamed for that. So unfortunate for him. Bulldog now with an Invis rune scouting around down bottom. Can he maybe get a Rise solo? Does Rise have a TP? Oh, it's on cooldown for 20 seconds.
Uh-oh. Can the Bulldog make it happen? There's going to be support nearby. This is a risky play, but Bulldog's thinking about it. He's doing the math right now. He's got that TI-89. He's making some graphs.
They got wards. They know that Pilot Eye's there.
Yep, and yep, that graph is saying negatory retreat.
Yeah, with 4 in the area, I don't think that would have done too well for him, but
Yeah, smart
Sing
choice.
Sing on this Alchemist, I think, is he going for AC, most likely? He's got the armor, which is a really, really nice decision to get early to deal with the Lifestealer. Because, of course, with the Alchemist, you have this
And the
big, big
Bristleback.
HP pool. Well, I mean, I think bigger for the Lifestealer. You can deal with the Bristleback by building up some HP, but if you build up HP against Lifestealer, of course, it doesn't really help you nearly as much. Getting that raw armor instead of the HP against the Lifestealer very, very early. Obviously, it helps with the Bristleback as well, but with a tanky hero like Alchemist, who has reasonably low armor on his own, picking up a couple of armor items against the Lifestealer fixes a lot of
And
problems.
Pili die. Again, he's going to get caught. This poor guy. That's going to make Disruptor now 1-5-5. They have just been non-stop picking on him. And now Alliance looking for someone else. A sneaky gank, or a sneaky smoke, I should say. Going to prove to be successful. And S4 still with a surprise inside. Uh-oh, come with me. That's going to be an easy kill. That's exactly what they were looking for. The supports for SSD just going to get melted. Very unfortunate. Fest's going to be on cooldown now, but S4 and Loda, they're not done quite yet. Looks like they are going to make a rotation up towards the top lane. Could perhaps catch this Alchemist. Sing Sing just farming away, but could find himself in an unfortunate situation. Loda going to scout it out. Sing Sing going to be in trouble here. He's just going to try and port away. Electric Vortex going to be enough. That's going to be a dead Alchemist. 3 easy kills for Alliance. That is just unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know what Sing Sing was thinking farming up there. I mean, he knows that a couple of his supports have just been picked off. He knows Alliance is posturing very, very aggressively in general. Maybe he thought he was safe kind of behind their lines, but at the same time, with 2 supports already dead, you would expect them to be returning to their side of the river. So going into their jungle at that point,
Unnecessary risk.
Odd decision, yeah.
That's how I would
Unnecessary
put it.
risk. I'd definitely give you that one.
Yeah, and that's sort of what this game is coming into here. Interesting.
Piped on the Bristleback. That's pretty big. It's going to help a lot against that call down, and of course, if anyone gets caught in the Static Storm, very, very significant.
Yeah, Pipe a good choice here. An underloved item for sure. Loda, he is going to get S and Y. He's got the Yasha, now going to grab the Sanj to go with that.
It's Loda.
That armlet. It's Loda. That's all you need to say. Of course he's getting an S and Y. So second Roche going to be up here at that 25-minute mark. Alliance going to move straight into the pit. As we've talked about, they've got plenty of Chen creeps. They've got that viscous goo. And again, they've got the Wild Wing Ripper. So going to make for a very easy Roshan. Will fall pretty quickly. SSD seems suspicious. They are postured around their side of the river, but they're not going to poke over. And that will be the second uncontested Roche going the way of Alliance. And of course, the Aegis going to go the way of Storm Spirit. One of the best Aegis carriers in the game. Pop back up with that full mana pool. You're just zipping all over the place once again. Makes a lot of sense for sure. And
What's up with BKB? Yeah.
yeah, working towards
on.
BKB. Storm actually 7-1-4. S4 is having a great game so far here. And again, with the Lifestealer inside, he's going to hop forward. Whoa, look at that Infest. That's going to do a lot of damage. Shadow Demon going to get dropped before the fight even starts. Call down going to come, but Arise not going to survive too long. It'll be a 2-0 to start it off. There's the Chen ulti. Met coming out as well. Kinetic Field going to keep him in an odd position, but no kills coming out the way of SSD quite yet. Gyrocopter does buy back. Alchemist falls. He's going to buy back as well. Making a dieback for the Gyrocopter. Alliance just steamrolling through the forces of SSD. I don't know what happened here, but an explosion of damage all of a sudden. I guess I know what happened. That beautiful initiation coming in from S4 and Loda. A dieback coming out. Oh, for the poor Beaver Knight as well. That's the GG.
called.
Well played. That was just I'm almost beyond words. That was like the most convincing team fight I've ever seen. I mean, yeah, the game was kind of one-sided, but then all of a sudden, Alliance just shat all over him, man. That was insane. That was such great initiation. Well done.
Well, I mean, chalk it up to power spikes in Dota, or rather, power curves in Dota being spiky and not smooth. Like, you tend to. Okay, so think about a curve of the strength of a team, like relative strength.
Mm-hmm.
When you finish an item, it spikes. It doesn't just kind of go. You're not getting things piece by piece. You're not like, oh, 10, 20, 30
Right,
in a nice straight line. You finish this thing, and suddenly you have this amazing new power. So what you had right there was you had the Sanji that had picked up, which he hadn't had in the last fight. So he has a bunch more stats. You had the Aegis being picked up on the Storm Spirit, which added to his strength right there, let him play very aggressively. And you had a Pipe, which was huge because it let them tank through the Static Storm. So you had all three of these new things on top of an SSD that did not really have anything new. And bam, I mean, you saw it. They got crushed. They weren't ready for that kind of stuff.
And hitting at least 4 of them with Infest was not a bad way
Yeah,
to
that
start
too.
off that fight either. But no, you're definitely right. That's a really good, concise way to sum it up as to why that fight seems so much more one-sided compared to the rest of the game that was pretty back and forth. But still an interesting match. Alliance going to go out in true Alliance form. And we're still on schedule. We got one more match coming your way, guys, here on Beyond the Summit. Our last match of the day will be rox.kis versus SSD with the speed stand-ins. Thank you for joining us here on Beyond the Summit. I am Zyori. With me is Hippie. We've got one more coming your way. Don't go anywhere. Game 5 coming up next.